Jeffrey Cunningham, welcome to the Maybe Writing Will Help podcast. It's so awesome to have you back.
Man, I'm so happy to be back. It's been a while.
Yeah.
A lot of we've had a lot of water under the bridge, I think, since the last time I podcasted with you. It's been a couple years, maybe?
Yeah, it's been like as long as my last marathon, I think. So it's time for a comeback with you and with running. So I was thinking on my track run this morning. I'm probably like the furthest away from elite that I've ever been, but I was like, I really want to do like an announcement, like I'm a celebrity, and be like, today we can finally be like, I'm announcing my new coach for my marathon PR, and it's you, yay! Just so excited because we've been talking about working together for so long. I'm like, if I'm gonna do this like with anybody, it's gonna be with you. So thankful.
Well, I find that very flattering. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, yeah. So you have your podcast, the Consistently Good podcast, which is
Yeah.
like I'm obsessed with it. It's awesome. One of the episodes that I listened to that I thought would be really fun to talk about is your weird things that runners like do. You have this episode just all I I'm torn between my favorite episode. Like I that one's like up there along with your one that you just did with Angelique with your wife. But
That was a
but
lot
this
of
one,
fun. That was so, soul-filling for me.
oh my god. Well, I can't wait to talk about her, too in that episode, but I wanna start off with the things that runners do because I thought that episode was so funny, and, I was actually like, I don't do some of the things, so I was like, I gotta tell Jeff, like, this does not apply to me. I'm like, "Oh, one of those weird runners." So one of them was, like, runners, like, have bad feet, and I actually don't. I, like, have really good feet. I've not lost toenails, like, none of that. So,
Yeah, you
score.
and you and Mitch Ammons are in a category of one. Like, the guy runs 110 miles a week, and his feet are pristine, and his wife just shakes her head, and she's like, "How?" You know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That's so funny. I know Mitch. I had him on the show too. He's really cool, and he just did some. Did he just placed for like the mile or something in like an event? Is that what
Yeah,
it
there was a
was?
little road mile here in town, and,
Okay.
he ran I think 4:16 or something like that.
He and his pristine feet run
Yeah, he
really
ran
fast.
2:14, in the marathon back in December, so
Yes, that dude,
that was
amazing.
really, really big time performance on his part, so we had a lot of fun with that for sure.
Yeah, he's awesome. Um, Let me see. What's the other? Oh, the one of the things I do that I was like, oh my god, I didn't know everybody did this is when I see a number on a clock that is, it's not my fastest time, but it's my first time I got sub 3. So 6:47. Anytime I see that on like a clock on a sign or anything, yeah, I get a little like dopamine hit. I'm like, oh, dude, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just about every time of day, I can look at my iPhone and look at the time and correlate it with some goofy running performance or some
yeah,
running standard or something running related. It's really almost diabolical at this point.
so funny. It's funny to like that we all do that.
Yeah.
And then you also talk about, like, different types of shoes, like, one of the shoes are, like, the, shoes that you put in, like, almost like a museum, your museum shoes, and I actually have shoes that are in a, like, box frame that, were my first Boston, and these shoes are not like, I mean, they're Nike, but they're definitely not like a real running shoe. I don't know. They're just like, I was like, Nike, that's what I should wear. And my kids rode all over them. And so they're in this big display case. And I was like checking things off the list. I'm like, okay, I do that. I don't do that. So it's just, I thought it was hilarious. So
It is
very
funny.
funny.
I
Yeah.
mean, everybody has their stack of running shoes and they put them into sort of categories. And like I was talking about, you got your dress running shoes where you're going to wear them to you con yourself into believing you can wear them to a semi-formal event. Then you got your yard work running shoes, your lawn mowing running shoes. You
Yep.
got your going to the store. I'm not really going to have to run, but I'm walking running shoes. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm guilty
Yeah.
of it.
So funny. Well, awesome. It's so awesome to be able to ask you all these questions and share like everything that we're going to talk about today with the audience here. But I thought maybe it would be fun to talk about kind of what we're doing together. So I'm in like, this is what I would consider a comeback, and not just like I took a season or a year off. Like this is like 3 years. So essentially I'm starting over. And I try to think of it as starting over in terms of like not trying to compare paces and stuff like that. But I also am like, is this experience piece to it that makes it a little bit different than just being like a new runner. So I wanted to kind of share what it's been like for me so far going through I mean, I think we've only done about 2 weeks of training together so far, but wanted to ask you, like, how do you see this in your other athletes and coach something like this, like coming back from like, pretty serious, like running, a decade of running to like, all right, we're kind of starting over here.
Yeah, well, the reality is you have racehorse DNA, and nobody ripped your racehorse DNA out and replaced it with
Mhm.
donkey DNA. So it's gonna come back really fast. The reality is, I mean, you ran under 3 hours in a marathon. I think your PR is 2:56, is that right?
250.
57? Yeah, 257, which makes you, the upper, like 1/2 of 1% of all, women, in the world in the marathon. And so you're really, really talented. And so it's going to come back really fast. You haven't been out of it so long and you're not old by the standards that we refer to as old nowadays, right? For women in endurance sports. So I think it's going to go really well. I think it's going to
Yeah.
be super rewarding. I think one of the big advantages that you've got is a lot of perspective now. I think you got a lot
Yeah.
of appreciation for getting to do this. And we're going to approach competitive goals and competitive stress and the transient anxieties and all the things that come with it very differently than I think the way you
Mm.
viewed the world even 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're a newer, kinder, gentler Nikki when it comes to
Mm.
the way you talk to yourself. You're a newer, kinder, gentler Nikki when it comes to the way you physically treat yourself than you were
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago. And
Right.
that's only going to aid and abet and augment both your joy and your satisfaction and your performance levels because
Hmm.
you're gonna fuel well, you're gonna sleep well, you're gonna have the ability to contextualize workouts and performances, I think in a way when, maybe before your hard reset, you were less apt to do. I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and I think what's kind of cool about having the experience is things happen, I'll be like, "Oh, I remember this feeling. I remember this. I remember that," and it's kind of like some of them are good memories and some of them are like, "Okay, this sucks. I remember this." But it's interesting like having that experience, but like you said, like having the different perspective, like one of the things that is definitely I think going to benefit me but you can tell me. The easy paces and like recoveries, like I'm not protecting my pace. You know what I mean? Like if it's a hard pace, I'm obviously going to go as hard as I can. But if there's no pace or there's like a recovery or like whatever, I'm so much more chill about it than I was, say, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, like an easy run, I'd be like, it's gotta be under 8 minutes. It's gotta be, like it always had to be like a certain pace. And now I feel like I'm just so much laid back because I don't have, I don't know, those expectations.
Easy run paces, it's an interesting phenomenon because I always ask people, "Well, who's watching?
Mm.
Who's paying attention? Who is judging you based on how fast or how slowly you run on a day that's designed for pure recovery?"
Yeah.
If those forces are in play that make you care about your pace to the degree that you feel judged or that you've come up short, then it's time to turn the Strava off and leave your watch at home and
Right.
stop with the nonsense because our ability to engage in self-defeating, self-obstructive behavior, so obstructive and destructive behavior is almost endless in
Mhm.
the good old United States of America in just about every way, shape, and form these days. And
Yeah.
too fast on our easy runs is just a quick trip to the outhouse of disappointment.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I actually when I see other runners, I know that the confident runners are the ones who are chill about their pace.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I keep that in mind. I'm like, "No, like, confident runners are secure in their running, and they don't need to show, this
yeah.
certain
I mean,
pace?"
Molly Seidel was famous for doing, easy runs at 9-minute pace. Do you think she's gonna go and give her Olympic medal back and apologize for running her
Right.
easy during her marathon block before the Olympic Games? Well, no. At the end of the day, in the running space, we're judged on a couple of things. I mean, I think that we're judged in a few ways, but one is what are your race results? I mean, what does the clock say at the end of the day who you are as a runner based on what you've done on the days when it matters the most. And then the other one is just, are you a shitty human? I mean, these are the things that follow people the most. Is she a shitty human? And generally speaking, what are her race performances? I mean, that's what kind of
Yeah.
defines us. I mean, think about it. Think about any really, really good runner who you look up to, a professional runner, whether it's a Kira D'Amato, an M. Sisson, an Annie Frisbee, a Connor Mance, is, oh my God, are they fast? And man, were they really cool at that autograph signing session, and did they take a moment to pat me on my shoulder and chat for a second? That's all they remember. Don't
Yeah.
be shitty. See what you can get done at the finish line. Nobody's gonna look at Nikki Tamburino's, Wednesday easy run and go, "Oh my god, she ran a suitcase. What a
Right. Nobody
loser."
cares.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, and if they are,
Yeah.
that's automatic blockable material on all
Right.
social media platforms. Screw you, man.
Yeah,
Come
dude.
on.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. What do you find are the, like, biggest concerns for people after a comeback? Like, what are athletes like, what are they most worried about coming back to running?
Yeah. Am I ever gonna be as good as I once was,
Mm.
right?
Mhm, mhm.
And am I going to get hurt again if
Mm.
they're coming back from injury, the fear of
Right.
re-injury, right? And then it's really is, am I ever gonna be as good as I once was? And what I always tell everybody, unless there's some very, very good scientifically expressed reasons as to why you being as good as you once were is an impossibility, of course you can be as good as you once were.
Yeah.
Usually, I would say better, especially if you spent time tackling the things that left you out of the running and racing space for any extended periods. That means typically there was something going on that had to be rectified, fixed, or addressed. If you've done that, you're probably going to be faster, not slower.
Yeah, yeah. Don't I mean, this is why I want you as my coach. This is the kind of stuff I need in my head, so that's awesome. What do you think about older runners who take, let's see, like, those, I wanna say performance enhancing drugs. I mean,
Peptides.
are you peptides? Yeah.
Yeah,
What
is
do
that what
you
you're
what's
saying? What do I think
like
about it?
yeah, like, what's your take on, taking them and if it's, you know, what
I have to be careful here, right? Because
Mhm,
they're on the USADA and WADA ban lists. So
mhm.
technically, your no runner is supposed to use them and is allowed to use them. Any of my runners who ever get drug tested after a big marathon, my elite runners, I mean, that's automatic suspension and ban by World Athletics,
Mhm.
possibly for a few months, possibly for a few years if you get caught using
Yeah.
substances that are on the ban list. And so there's that caveat. We're watching real life drama play out before our eyes on Instagram right now by two people who have a fairly large platform and
Yeah,
are both fairly vocal, and they're going
exactly.
at each other. And one person got referred to World Athletics. Man, it's not good. Do peptides work? I think empirically they do. The same way that anabolic steroids work. Anabolic
Right.
steroids increase your ability to recover. You can go hard a lot and recover quickly, and that's why they became sort of the drug du jour for bodybuilders who are trying to get huge. Um um I tell you what, we kinda go down a rabbit hole here. I mean, the enhanced games, I think, are kicking off either this week or next week, right?
Yeah.
And boy, I don't know if I love it, but it is what it is, right?
It's so weird. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Peptides are an interesting problem,
yeah,
because
yeah.
they really aid in vet recovery. The early signs, even though there hasn't been any FDA approval of some of these peptides, and we don't have any good longitudinal studies on them, they could really help with recovery. And then under
Yeah.
the subclass of peptides, we also have GLPs, and they're being marketed dangerously as
Mhm,
peptides because it
mhm.
seems so less cringy or gross or concerning. And so I've heard some people say, "Oh, well, my doctor prescribed me peptides, to help me with weight control, lose weight." And you go and you look at it, it's like, well, that's in a class of GLPs. You're taking a GLP. This is just Ozempic, but they're calling it peptide,
Mhm.
right? What you're doing is you're taking Ozempic, and of course, we know about all the problems with GI tract paralysis and
Muscle
the things
loss,
that
right?
come with those.
I mean, that's what scares me. It's,
Mhm, mhm.
the what the
So,
impact on the muscle.
I'm on the USA Track and Field Official Registry of Coaches, and so I can never recommend that anybody take a substance that's on the World Athletics ban list. That's my
Yeah.
short answer, and I hate that people may wanna hear me say something else, but I've got so much at stake professionally and so much at stake from an integrity standpoint that, there's lines I don't, um, prefer to cross, and I'm just gonna kinda leave it there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't, I guess I just don't know enough about them to like, I wanted immediately to be, like, disappointed, like because I think, when you see people who you look up to on social media,
Mm,
who have an
mm.
influence, and they're doing amazing things, and you're like, "My god, I feel like now there's hope, like, I can do that, whatever," and then, you hear that they're taking, something that's illegal or whatever, and you're just like,
And you
"Fuck."
know, Nikki, here's the problem. Where's your sliding scale?
Mhm.
How fast is fast enough that then the use of banned substances becomes a concern, right? Is
Yeah.
it
Right.
is it
Right.
is it qualifying for the Boston Marathon where you're stealing a
Right.
spot from somebody on the starting line by using peptides, anabolics, EPO, right? Or do we let that go and shrug our shoulders and say,
Right.
"I don't see what
Right.
the big deal is." Is it qualifying for the US Olympic trials where we draw the line and say, "No, you don't get to compete for a spot on the US Olympic team if you used peptides, anabolics, EPO to get a qualifier for the Olympic trials?" Or do we say, well, I mean, he or she is ranked 97th going into the Olympic trials. There's no real chance that they're going to make the Olympic team. So who are they really defrauding? So do you have to be top 25 in the US for us to care? Right. And this is where you start seeing the ridiculousness of not caring. We either care or we do not. It
Right.
has to be binary. It's like, how much cheating do we allow on the SAT before we care? Do you
Yeah.
have to defraud Harvard before we care? Or if you cheat on it, but you only go get into Huckleberry Finn State University, do we just then choose not to care about cheating? See? And this is when
Yeah.
we start getting into the areas of moral relativism. And
Yes, yeah.
well, is it immoral or unethical just because it's against the rules? Like, do we see driving 71 miles an hour in a 65 as immoral? Well, probably not.
Mhm.
As a lawyer and as a coach who is bound by world athletics and US anti-doping agency rules, you start getting into all of these conversations, and it's a difficult one to have, you know?
And well, I mean, I think I get from the standpoint, and like I said, I didn't know, I didn't even know how to say what it was called. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know enough about it to be like, is this actually performance enhancing or is it just on this list? So in terms of like, if it's
It's not
performance
performance
enhancing,
enhancing. That's the problem with the GLPs generally, and I have to do some research on it, but I
hmm
don't do a whole lot of research on stuff that I know my athletes can't take, so I don't spend a lot of time on it. But
yeah,
it's my understanding that the peptides are more for recovery and more for, healing injuries and things of that
okay,
nature. It's
okay,
not performance enhancing in the manner that EPO is. Right?
okay.
Which stimulates red blood cell production and then, increases your ability to deliver oxygen to working muscles, which basically means you can just run faster and further than everybody else if you're taking EPO, right?
Okay, so that's for me. I get the rules. Like I get being like it's a rule. You shouldn't do it, especially if you're going to place in a race and take the position from somebody. Like
Yeah.
that, I get a rule is a rule is a rule. Where I was struggling with it is as an influencer, if this is enhancing your performance, then you're falsely representing what someone could do if they don't have access to that or they're not going to take those
Got a
substances.
problem with it. I have a
Yeah.
problem with it, and,
Yeah.
I tend to, um, be pretty forgiving of a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I come across as a hypocrite, right? Because I have tons of age groupers in marathons that don't have the same competitive advantages that the elites have, i.e., personalized hydration and nutrition at the elite aid stations. Like when you're in the pro field at the Boston Marathon, your experience is very different than somebody who's in Corral Bay. Is it
Right.
that big of a deal if somebody hands you a bottle of electrolytes off the side of the street when you're at mile 17 and you're in 7,450th place in a marathon? Oh gosh, I don't think so. I don't think that that's a huge deal, even though technically that's against the rules.
Yeah.
And you are subject to disqualification if somebody turns you in, right? I
Yeah.
mean, come
Yeah.
on now.
Right.
That's when it starts getting into the point of being ridiculous because I'm not sure how much that is an aid versus how well you train, to care of yourself, your mental approach going into a marathon, whether or not you hired a good coach. But when it comes to EPO, anabolic steroids, things like that, I draw a pretty hard line and I see the difference
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and I think it's comes to, that conversation that I thought we might have is like with women and I'm sure men too, and I want to talk about the difference between men and women, but there's so much comparison online, and as a woman, you see so much stuff, and you're just like, it makes you feel like that's what you should be like, or what we should be
Uh-huh.
capable of what you're doing. So that's where
Right.
that's where it hit me that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So, but maybe just a segue into like the difference between men and women and comparisons and all this stuff and how we deal with it differently. I know you and Angelique are really big on this, especially talking to women right now. What do you see like the difference between men and women in terms of confidence, in terms of like how it affects their performance and stuff like that? Like what kinds of things are you addressing?
Yeah. Well, we have to recognize the fact that men and women, fair or not, mostly unfair over the last 250 years, 300 years, right, in this country, have been treated differently. We came from largely patriarchal roots back in the 1600s, right?
Mhm,
And I mean, you just look at the Salem witch trials and and the fact that we call removing somebody's uterus a hysterectomy, thus
mhm,
being something has to do with being hysterical, which is a misogynistic, condescending term that's used
mhm.
for women all the time. And so we have to be conscious of the reality that women have been socialized in a culture that glamorizes skinny being healthy, that tells you guys that iceberg lettuce and a little piece of fish is a meal, right?
Yeah.
That if you are confident and if you have an opinion and if you are hard nosed and if you are a fan of regimentation and toughness and not letting people off the hook, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
If you're a man, well, that's just manly. That's just
Mhm.
manly. That's masculine. That's celebrated. Men disproportionately believe that they're more handsome than what they actually are when the
Right.
general public is polled.
Oh, I didn't know
Men
that.
are generally encouraged to overestimate how smart they are and how competent they are.
Mm,
Um, Women are told to be demure, to not accept compliments well, to be
right.
self-critical.
Mhm.
I asked one podcaster one time, I asked her, "Have you ever put a pair of jeans on and asked your husband if your butt looks fat in them?" She said, "Yeah." I says, "Conversely, has your husband ever put a pair of jeans on and asked you how fat his butt looks in them?" She says, "Never." I said, "You see the difference?
Yeah.
You see the difference?" And so we would be remiss
Mhm.
if we didn't recognize those realities and not preach that that needs to be static. It needs to be part of our
Yeah.
culture. We shouldn't preach that it's okay, but we have to recognize that our girls are being socialized in this culture where there's certain pressures and certain thought processes that can be almost invasive.
Yeah.
We look at performance anxiety. We look at um, body dysmorphia. There's a reason why there's a disproportionate number of women who suffer from eating disorder, disordered eating, REDS, which is a acronym for reduced
Energy
relative
deficient.
energy
Mhm.
deficiency in sport, right? We got to talk about these things. And then on top of that, there's some very real physical differences between men and women. Men do not Men do not suffer blood loss for about 20 to 25% of their lives between the ages of 14 and 45. Women do.
Yeah.
So we better start talking about things like iron deficiency and
Mhm.
bone density issues, and what the consequences of amenorrhea. I mean, men live permanent lives of amenorrhea. We do not menstruate. We never have to worry
Yeah.
about being amenorrheic because we're supposed to be. You guys are
Mhm.
not. And we got to
Yeah.
really address the health concerns that go with that and the underlying causes of things like amenorrhea as well. And
Yeah.
it's a complex, delicate subject that men need to get better at being in the endurance space and in talking about in a way that's not triggering for our young women. Very
Yeah, I
key.
mean, all of those things are so important, and one of the things is, understanding women's bodies. A lot of the research and stuff has been done on men, so,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we're starting to do some of that research. So certainly the physical differences and, women specifically need to be addressed. But I'm kind of curious too in the subtle difference that I think that you're addressing that nobody really talks about, and that's how it affects performance, anxiety, workouts
Mm,
mentally. Because there is, when you don't have that confidence or you have that self-criticalness, there is a mental aspect that I think,
yeah,
um, is
yeah.
is at play in training.
Yeah, well, listen, boys and men are socialized to accept the fact that imperfection is okay and that we don't have to be perfect at all times. And we're even actually told sometimes that not good enough or coming up short is actually great. And women aren't given that level of leash length, professionally, academically, socially, not at all. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
um, misstep in a public speaking engagement, people are going to let you hear about it. You make one mistake in a high powered board meeting, suddenly you feel the scorn of a dozen furrowed brows from a bunch of old gray haired dudes that
Mhm.
sit in the corner office smoking the big cigars. You know what I mean? And so y'all are
Yeah.
told to be the perfect laundry folder, be the perfect lunch maker for your kids in elementary school, host the perfect party where not a single cushion could be out of place on the couch when the guest arrives. Men, have a little bit of money in your bank account and get you a little bit of a beer belly and do a bad job shaving. Nobody's going to worry about it. You're okay. That
Yeah.
spills over into athletic performance, perfectionism, and the allure of perfectionism and the badge of honor that is very, I would say, ill-fitting badge is I'm type A. I'm type A.
Mm,
I'm a type
yeah.
A.
Mhm.
I don't see that as necessarily that great. Because what do you get with type A people? People who are unbudgingly critical of themselves. People with really, really low HRV and a lot of neurologic rigidity, okay?
Mhm.
And that is a result of a lot of trauma that a lot of young women have to endure growing up in this country, where you told you just keep your mouth shut and put up with it. Whether it is horrific trauma that is dealt with through verbal and physical abuse at the hands of a parent, a sibling, or an uncle or an aunt who likes to come over, once every other weekend, if you know what I mean,
Mhm.
to the more insidious sort of levels of sort of micro traumas that people deal with. And so when you get people who come from a background of trauma, is you get people with very, very low HRV. You get people
Hmm.
with really, really bad sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system responses to stress. And what do you then get? High levels of anxiety that can be debilitating in a performance
Hmm.
arena when it comes to athletics. So
Wow.
we've got to try to socialize our young women. Breathe deeply. Let's relax. There's only one person I've ever heard of who's perfect, and that's that big fella that's right up there. Okay. There is no perfection here. Okay.
Yeah.
Forgive the expression. I said this by accident during a podcast with Nick Bear back in December 2021, and it stuck, which is just be consistently good. Just consistently good. Be a good
Yeah.
friend, good sister, be a be a good enough mom. You don't have to be the
Yeah.
perfect. Be a
Yeah, it's
good enough
such a good,
spouse or
yeah,
partner.
thing
Uh,
to think, yeah.
whether you're married to a woman or a man, I don't give a rip. Be good. Just be good,
Yeah.
but be good to yourself.
Mhm. Yeah.
We got a lot going on, man. We got a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on in the world right now. Just show up and be good enough, and that's going to be okay. Nobody expects perfection, and if anybody does expect perfection, they're either unrealistic or abusive. And I'm going to go ahead and just go all the way there. Can
Yeah.
actually be the expectation of perfection can be abusive. Think about
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing to live up to, and then you have to deal with the shame and guilt and on the back end. The emotional torment is, um
Let's talk about guilt.
okay.
I was expressing guilt about something going on in my life the other day, and invariably, guilt emanates from a perceived shortcoming or something we haven't done as well as we should have. with no actual solution. It's just an empty emotion. And so Angelique looked at me the other day and she says, "Guilt is the most useless human emotion." And she
It's
put
so
a period
painful
at it
though.
and just stared
Yeah.
at me.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, that is profound. I hadn't
Mm.
thought about that. And she looked at me and then, of course, in her inimitable style said, "What you gonna do, boo?" And I'm like, "Nothing other than just feel guilty." She goes, "So it's useless. It's a useless emotion." It doesn't
Yeah.
mean be crass. It doesn't mean lack empathy. It doesn't mean lack the ability to be self-reflective. It's just guilt most of the time is just a useless human emotion that we use to just lambaste ourselves and cause ourselves depression, situational anxiety, wasted days, wasted moments. And I'll tell you what, at the age of 51, I'm done wasting days and I'm done wasting moments, man. I'm starting to
Yeah.
feel my mortality, Nikki. I really am.
I hear
Yeah.
you. I hear you. I think the problem is that we feel like we need to be punished. I think there's a book I have, and the line is that humans are the only animal that punish themselves over and over again for the same mistake, right? Like, you should do something, you learn your
Hmm.
lesson, you do something,
Yeah.
there's a consequence, and that should be
Hmm.
the end of it. But humans, we do
Yeah.
something, we have a consequence, and then we continue
Yeah.
to beat ourselves up about it.
Yeah, and there's a few reptiles and a few mammals that live a long time. I think tortoises sometimes can live up to 200 years. I had to go and research that.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is we tend to live longer than most organisms on the planet. Evolutionarily, we've figured out how to make ourselves live longer. People will be shocked that even just 150 years ago, the average lifespan of an American was 40 years old. You'd be shocked to hear that even
That
as late as
yeah,
the
that
late 1800s, right? So we figured out ways to live longer, and I would credit two major things over the last several, tens of thousands of years, which is the discovery of fire and antibiotics. Those are the two things. Those are the reasons we live longer. I mean, we're not out there like Tom Hanks on a beach trying to rip a abscess tooth out with an ice skate, right?
yeah.
But the
Oh
reality of it
god.
is, I'm talking about a movie, folks, and if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, right?
I just got a visual.
Yeah, but the reality is we still have this amazing capacity to be more self-destructive in some bizarre ways that the rest of the animal kingdom would be fascinated with. I don't know of any other mammals who suffer from anorexia,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah,
What other mammals purposefully starve themselves just for um to achieve
acceptance.
an aesthetic? For instance. I mean has your dog ever gone on a hunger strike and said, "Mom, I'm too fat?" No.
Right.
It's even though your dog, the oldest dogs will live to be, 17, 18 years old, and unfortunately, if you have an English bulldog, you're lucky to make it to 8 years old, right? The reality is you're looking at 8 to 16-year lifespan, right? But
Mhm.
dogs engage in far less actual volitionally self-destructive behaviors than human beings do. Think
That's
about it.
so interesting
We
to think
snort
about.
cocaine.
I know, right.
We freebase drugs. We drink enough ethyl alcohol, to can a freaking, a pallet full of pickles,
It's
And,
it's
yeah, I just get worried. I'm worried, and I'm in the coaching space, and so I'm a quasi psychologist, psychiatrist.
mhm.
I am a very, very, very bad nutritionist because it's outside my licensure, right?
Yeah.
I'm a family therapist sometimes. I am a self-trained exercise physiologist. My only formal training is being an attorney, which qualifies me to just be incredibly verbose and not much else, man. I'm just a guy with a bad accent and a pickup truck and an idea, baby.
But you hear so much and you have so much experience working with humans,
Oh,
especially athletes, like, you know so more than you think you do, just and
yeah.
I think we all do. We all have that skill. Like we all deal with humans every day. So I think if you really pay attention, you can, you can learn some pretty helpful things and help other people out. So
Yeah, try.
if you just talking to women right now, what's like one thing like you would a message you have for women, and then I want to go.
Your glass ceiling for potential is far higher above your head than anything that you have been told or socialized to believe. Now, let's go get it.
I love
That's what
that.
I tell most women. Most women are socialized to be fairly self-critical and pretty conservative about their physical ability to perform in the athletic space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that.
that's what I tell most women, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. That is like that's
men
what you told me.
men
Yeah.
similarly, preaching restraint along the way and a sort of intentionality and being very methodical in our approach, but, our talent is a garden that's been bestowed on us by, you can say God, you can say Mother Nature. I don't really care where you think you got your garden of talent from. The quick answer is the two people who procreated to make you. That's probably where you got it from, right? But the reality of it is, it's like a ranch, um, um, where we kind of hem ourselves in sometimes. And I always say, hey, you live on a plot of land that's this big. Why hem yourself on a piece of land that's this big? Let's put those fences all the way out on the edge. And that is your talent ranch where we're going to roam. And
I
that's where
like
we're going to
that.
be. But,
Yeah.
but you also got to make sure you have a little bit of rainfall, right? Because it's garden and it won't bloom unless you water it. And so it's up to us to water the garden that is our talent, or it will
Yeah.
just be dormant. It won't blossom. It won't bloom. Okay.
I like that. I like that you give visuals with almost everything,
Yeah.
every lesson, there's visual. Do you feel
Sometimes
like
too many.
no, I like it. I'm thinking pictures. Do you find that you have to, like, with men more so than women, you have to hold them back rather than push them forward? Like, to keep them from overdoing it?
Yeah. Generally speaking, women are both tougher and smarter than men, I find. All jokes aside, yeah, I think that sort of this bravado, I can do anything, I'm going to go do anything I want, is really, really good. And I try not to coach that out of people because people are eager. But I tell a lot of men, it's like, hey, man, I know you want to break 3 hours in a marathon, but your PR is 3:38. Let's take 3 years to do this instead of 6 months. And let's really understand the physiologic adaptations that have to occur in the training and that those things will occur because you're a relatively normal Homo sapien. We all have more similarities than we do differences from a physiologic standpoint, but it's going to require some patience.
Yeah.
And, I think living in the microwave dinner world, when you're trying to participate in a turkey bacon sport, is really difficult. And I think it befalls people who spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos and watching, Instagram videos of, somebody who might be a B-list celebrity who's like sort of an idol of theirs, went out and ran that sub 3 marathon. And it's like, yeah, man, but let's not try to skip steps B and C. And you're trying to go straight from A to D. And, let's be patient. Let's be patient and realize that it's kinda like that scene in, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase, and they're sitting there at dinner, and Cousin Eddie's sitting around, and that turkey opens up, and it's just
I just
smoking. They
burnt to
overcooked the turkey,
shit.
right? So I tell everybody, "Let's not overcook the turkey. Let's just let's slow bake that turkey. Let's baste it, nicely, and it's gonna come out nice and juicy and flavorful, but that might take 3 years when we're trying to bake your marathon. We may not be able to do it in 6 months. But you in
Ooh,
Texas, we have drive-through liquor stores, you know?
oh my god.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, actually, I think I did know that.
lazy to get out of our pickup trucks and walk across the parking lot to buy a bottle of whiskey. And it's like, good gravy, guys. I mean, we got drive through dry cleaners. We got drive through. I mean, think about that. We got rapid tax return. Can you imagine if somebody put a placard out front on the boulevard in your hometown and said, slow tax return? How much business would they get?
Yeah.
You know? And so, Cunningham running, if I called it the patience running, platform,
Yeah,
or
dude, no. Yeah.
slow slow as you go running by Jeff Cunningham, my God, I wouldn't have any business, man,
No.
but it's kinda what we gotta do, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, that
Kinda what we gotta
turkey,
do.
it's
Yeah.
gonna I'm gonna think about that in the middle of a run for sure.
Turkey
That's so
bacon
funny.
sport in a microwave dinner world, baby. We have short circuited our very, very well formed evolutionary concepts of delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Think about
Yeah.
how long it took to build the pyramids in the Mayan and the Aztec pyramids in Mexico and the Central America, or the Egyptian pyramids. Think about how long it took them to build those, thousands of years. You imagine owning
Mhm.
that construction company now and getting hired to do that job.
Yeah, right.
That's gonna
Yeah.
take us thousands of years. You ain't gonna get that contract.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get that contrast.
I mean, it's a g it's good it takes the pressure off, right? You know, you got the rest of your life to to work on this shit.
But see, think about that. Think about what you just said, takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
If we take the pressure off if we take the pressure off, we're gonna run better.
I feel so yeah, I feel so ready with all this stuff and the
Uh,
stuff that we're talking about today. I'm just like, it's just like you learn so much. And I think that I was really hard on myself for taking time off. But I think timing is everything. And that for some reason, there was something I needed to learn and things that I needed to go through to be here. And I have to think that way, right? Because like you and Angelique say, you got to think positive. And so, I've got your 3 tips. Trust your coach, think positively. What do you don't blank on the third one? Visualize.
there you go.
So that's
There you go. Very
that's it.
impressive. Yeah, negativity is a communicable disease,
Mhm.
and it metastasizes as well.
Yeah.
Negativity raises our cortisol levels. Negativity, the science is good now, can rewire our brains to become negative brains, where
Yeah.
we automatically see the negative in everything. Dr. Holmes, who's the global scientist for Woo, has written extensively on this subject, and she's a friend of mine, and we've been talking a lot, about the realities that we rewire our brains, in ways that are very dangerous, and we end up creating so much stress that we don't even have enough neuroplasticity and enough pliability to even receive stimuli that gets converted into this thing that we call good luck. There's a lot of this goes
Wow.
on, and it's all caused by negativity, a lot of it. Just being a perpetually negative person is perhaps worse than being a perpetually guilt-ridden person, but honestly, I know a lot of people who suffer from both immense guilt and negativity,
Ooh, that's a
and
rough combo, yeah.
they look almost slack-jawed with wonderment at people who seem like that they just shit bars of gold. You know what I mean?
Well, that's like depression, right? I mean, that combination is a perfect recipe for depression. Yeah.
Oh, 100%, whether it's situational depression or
Mhm.
chronic
Clinical.
diagnosable
Yeah.
depression, that could be a DSM-5 diagnosis and need, more long-term treatment. So it's just a complex. It's an interesting complex play, but delusional positivism might actually be more healthy than
Detrimental.
not.
Oh, healthy.
Delusional
Okay.
optimism Delusional optimism, if it's truly delusional, and I
Yeah.
would challenge that everything we call delusional is really delusional, but something that's empirically delusional, that can be negative too, because you set yourself up for disappointment and failure over and over and over, right? Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
realistic optimism all the way out to those fences on the ranch, okay?
Yeah.
Or that glass ceiling all the way up to that glass ceiling that's way up there, okay? Let's be optimistic all the way up to those points because it's not a crime. It's not a
Yeah.
crime, right?
Oh my
What crime
god.
you committing?
Yeah, so I want to talk about the optimism and negative, for something that I saw. I hope I can make this make sense. You were talking on a podcast and were talking about Angelique coaching, and somebody was saying that the workout wasn't fun. And it reframed the positive thing for me because she was like, "Well, it's not supposed to be fun." Like, right? Like she was talking about this and I'm like, "That's not the same thing as be like fun is not the same thing as optimistic." Like you don't have to be
Boom.
having fun.
No, no, because one of the things that I am a big fan of is being grounded in reality,
Mhm.
okay? And when you read a fantasy book or you fantasize about something, fantasy definitionally, I mean, you go and read the definition of fantasy is not real. Okay.
Yeah.
So well, I'm also a realist. And one of the realities of life is that you are not going to have rainbows and moonbeams shooting out of your ass every day. You're just not. Okay. I mean, some days you're just not going to have great days. That makes you quintessentially human, not
Right.
abnormal. It's not
Yeah.
abnormal to have bad days. It's not abnormal to have bad workouts. It's not abnormal to have bad races. That is on the
Right.
continuum of normal. Okay. And so what I tell people is this is what Ansley's point was. Workouts aren't necessarily designed for your enjoyment every single day, right? They're
Right.
designed to get a desired physiologic response and get some physiologic adaptations. You can therefore continue to progress to hit your goals. And so if we set every day up, well, if it's not fun, it's not worth doing, we've got a real big problem. Now, If it is globally not fun, meaning you went an entire season or 2 seasons or 3 seasons and you were miserable, well, then we need to do some evaluation,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
if you're unhappy in your marriage for 10 years, that's a lot different than being unhappy in your marriage for 1 day. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
most of us are unhappy in our marriage or with our marriage or unhappy with the way a day went or the way our spouse talked to us intermittently
Yeah.
the length of our entire marriages. It doesn't mean you go down and file for divorce the first time you get in a fight over somebody hanging the toilet paper hanging down the wrong way,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
But the reality is, I can be one annoying son of a gun, and I drive Angelique absolutely batshit crazy some days, but that's all right. I mean, that's just that. I mean, that's part of life. It's just
Right.
like running. You're gonna have a bad workout doesn't mean you need to quit, right? Because
Yeah.
if you had a great workout every time out, that'd be fantasy, and by definition, that's not reality, right?
Yeah. You
So,
know what one of
yeah.
the hardest things is setting the right expectations for any run. I that is like you
Uh,
don't because you don't want to think it's you don't want to dread it and think it's going to be too hard. But there are a lot of workouts that I go into. I'm like, this is going to be easy, especially now, right? Because I've done a lot of these workouts before. No
yeah,
big deal in the past. But now I do these workouts and I go, oh, this is going to be no big deal. And then it sucks. And it mostly sucks because I wasn't expecting it to suck,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So trying to,
Expectation is really, really interesting. Our color, for the way we feel and the color for the way we're experiencing things, a lot of times is predetermined by our expectations going in.
yeah,
If you
that's what I
expect
mean.
something to hurt and you're willing to welcome the pain in like the irritating drunk uncle at Thanksgiving where you just have to manage him for a day,
It's
right?
a lot about Thanksgiving
If
here.
your uncle of discomfort is at your door when you start the workout and you know you're gonna have to let him in and manage him, it's gonna go a lot better. But if you go into it expecting the uncle not to arrive, and then the uncle unexpectedly knocks on the door and shows up,
Yeah.
then your perception of the pain is very different. And
Different.
I've
It's
heard
so different. Yeah.
Steve Magnus actually writing on this subject, and it was really interesting that our perception of pain a lot of times in race and in workout somewhat predetermined by our expectation of what that pain would be prior to arrival. It's interesting.
Huh? I right, and that's like yeah, so sometimes I'll be like, "Alright, so do I need to expect" just basically just expect every run to be hard. Maybe this
No,
is
it's not gonna be hard, but you have to make sure that you're running your easy runs easy.
yeah,
And leave pride at the on the porch, when you leave. And,
yeah,
if you have a known 5-mile route, just leave your watch at home some days and just go and run nice and easy.
yeah.
And, if anybody finds your 5-mile run at 9-minute pace interesting, reviewable, or otherwise remarkable, and they need to see it on Strava, they need a hobby. They need a
Yeah.
hobby. Who cares about Strava? If we got rid of Strava, it would make the running world a better place, flat out. It would get rid of,
Wow, okay.
the comparison game. It would get rid of the snark and the cattiness that I've seen go on in some places around the country where people are reviewing people's Strava and talking about their paces and, oh my god, we just got rid of it. Other than Kira D'Amato's horrific puns
Her puns.
on Strava, which are incredible. Other than that, we just need to get rid of it. Like right now, I don't even look at Strava. People are
Yeah,
shocked. I don't look at people's Strava. I don't look at my own athlete Strava. You know what the Strava is for me is how you doing, how you feeling. I feel great, man. Everything last week felt really great. Took my easy runs easy. Okay, great. That's my Strava. Tell me how
yeah,
you doing.
yeah. I
I don't
mean, I
look
have
at it.
Strava, I don't even know why. I don't go in and update my runs, it just automatically I think
Yeah.
it's like a
So so
middleman
once you
to
get rid of Strava,
yeah.
you can, and you should know how much you're running without it having to, you look at it every day on your watch. I mean, some days I tell some people, leave your watch at home. What a liberating feeling not being able to look at heart rate data and pace
But how will you know I did my workout?
because I trust you. I mean, you're not
Just
toddlers.
I know.
If you tell me you went
Yeah.
and ran 6 miles easy, I mean, I trust that you're not lying to
I
me
know, but
because
here's the funny thing. I literally will do this. I mean, I know you trust me if I say it, but I'm like, I got to prove it to you. Like I did it. Or if I run like a slower pace, like athletes are thinking, they're like, I need to explain that I was on a hill. I need to explain. I know.
not on 75 to 85% of your runs, which is just running easy.
Yeah,
All I wanna know is, did you run 100% easy? Did you do what I would refer to as a zero
right.
effort run? If you did that, that's fine. Now, on your hard workout days, when you have like a 6-mile tempo run and 2 by 1 mile repeats hard, I do like to see that stuff. But frankly, I use an online platform, web-based platform called Final Surge, and it uploads your run data there when you sync your Garmin to it, and I
Yeah.
can see it. And frankly, I don't really care if Huck Finn and Blueberry and little Betty Sue see your data because I don't coach Huck Finn and I don't know Blueberry, and I don't give a rip what Betty Sue is doing. I only care what Nikki Tamburino's doing. So just
Yeah.
you and me, we're the only people that need to see your data.
Yeah.
I'm just an
Yeah.
old
So
grouchy
fun.
51-year-old guy. I just see the world very much. You're like, listen, man, all I care about is what's that clock gonna say when we get to the finish line at your races, kiddo. I don't
That's it.
worry about the rest of it much, you
That's
know?
it. That's it. Well, I love catching up with you. It's great to, chit chat about all the things that have been on my mind. You're just super fun and you always have good advice and you always give good visuals. I mean,
I wish
these
you could
things I'm gonna be
I
thinking
wish you
about.
could fix this visual, but I was born with this. Y'all are stuck with it.
I am no, I'm super excited about this season, and to work with you. And please, I think I was saying Angelique and it's Angelique. So please tell her that I'm a huge fan and I can't wait to meet her and, yeah, see you guys both
We're gonna
in
get more y'all are
Indianapolis.
gonna get more y'all are gonna get a lot more of us, working on a lot of stuff collaboratively in the, health and wellness space, especially emotional health and, working through performance anxiety, achieving goals, visualizing our goals, getting
Mm,
from a pace of maybe discontent or maybe feeling like you've come up short to then
yeah.
achieving your dreams and your goals, whatever those are. We can define success and winning in a way that works for each individual, and I think that, from a collaborative standpoint, we did it for so long at the
Mhm.
high school level when we were coaching here in Austin at St. Michael's Catholic. And so, we're transitioning, into sort of a different phase of our mentorship and coaching lives. And it's just, it's beyond rewarding. Mentorship is a privilege.
Mm,
Coaching is a privilege. It's not a right.
y
And when you realize that you're privileged to get to work with amazing souls like you realize how blessed you are,
mm.
flat out.
I love you guys as a team. Where should people look for, like, tell us what's coming up and, you have anything virtual,
We're
all
doing
that?
a hosting a women's running summit,
Mhm.
in Monterey, California on June 27th and 28th.
Yep.
And then, we're looking at taking that on the road, and we're considering some other places. We're looking at Baltimore area, and,
Amen. Yeah.
we're looking, possibly in Nashville and Charlotte, Boston, and then, of course, good old Austin, Texas, America. And, I coach high school runners. I coach runners right out of college who ran well in college, and then I coach age groupers who are just like, "I wanna run my first marathon." I coach it all.
Yeah.
Everybody has unique experiences, a unique walk. They see the world through their own lenses of their own lives, but we can all just get so much out of the fitness space and running space. And there's room on the success bandwagon for everybody.
Dude, I
There
love
is
that
not,
about you. Yep.
there's not limited seating. There's not
Right.
limited seating.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's abundant. Success is abundant. Where should people go to learn about the events? Like, where should we send them?
Follow Instagram, Cunningham Running Instagram, and then my Instagram, which is JD Cunningham 97.
Yeah.
And then Angelique's was just Angelique Banquet, Banket, which was
Yes.
for her maiden name.
Nice. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
she says I ruined her name. She says I ruined her name. She's like, I went from Angelique Monique Banquet to Angelique Cunningham, and I'm like, yeah, 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 I did. You came in as a F1 driver, and I kind of NASCAR'd your name, didn't I?
You two are so funny. Like, just such a like funny, good couple. Also,
Um,
want to point people to the Consistently Good podcast. It really is such a great podcast. Yeah. Look forward to seeing more of you and Angelique soon. So thank you so much for your time.
and one last thing, your podcast is maybe running will help. We need to change that to running absolutely will help. Running absolutely will help.
You're not the first
And
person to say
that's
that.
a whole hour. That's a whole hour for, that I wanna come back and do with you another time on, the reason why running will help is it
Amen.
is the salve for a lot of wounds, and it's the therapy for, a whole lot of stuff where we don't need to necessarily be fleecing, or lining the pockets of big pharma. Listen, I love big pharma, but boy, I tell you what, movement's medicine for sure, Nikki.
It is, it is.
All right. And talking
Alright,
to awesome people like you is medicine too, for sure. Okay.
thank you.
All right.